Hey guys, welcome to Crazy Burger. So in this video we're going to be looking at Data East Arcade 2. And finally we have got more Data East onto Evercade. It seems like a long time since the first arcade collection. So in this video we're going to be playing through all 12 games and I'll give you my opinion whether this is worth buying or not. Let's get started. Okay, so first up it's BWings. This is quite an early Data East game from 1984 I think, and it's obviously a kind of a scrolling sort of shoot 'em up, and you can also go from left to right as well a little bit, but personally I really didn't enjoy this one a lot. It's not really a great start to the collection. I thought it was very hard. It's not really my type of genre as well, which doesn't help, but I just didn't enjoy it. I thought it was very difficult, and I didn't really get into it at all. Maybe it's just me, I need to understand the game a little bit more, but I felt the ship was very slow moving, very sluggish, and therefore the whole game just wasn't enjoyable at all. So for me this is a very average or below average game that's been included here. Okay, so this is the cover star of Data East Arcade 2. This is Crude Buster, or also known as Two Crude Dudes. And we also have this on Data East Collection 1 that we got way back in 2020, around about the launch of the Evercade handheld. And it's a really decent conversion that we got. Obviously it was the Mega Drive Genesis version, and it's actually very good. Although admittedly the arcade version certainly looks a lot better. There's more detail, there's more colour in the graphics. I think there's probably some more sound effects as well, some more voices with the characters. Perhaps there's even different sort of enemies and bosses throughout the game. I think. I'm not entirely sure, but there's no doubt about it. This is a really cool game, but it is a massive coin guzzler. It is very hard. I definitely like it. I remember playing this back in the arcades. I remember putting my 10p in, but I also remember it being very tough, and that 10p did not last long at all. I'm sure I probably didn't even get as far as halfway through the first level. It was that difficult. Very cool game, but very tough. Now obviously with a lot of the arcade games you can just keep inserting your coins. There's obviously free money, so to speak, in the cartridge versions that we get here, which is fine, but I really hope that once these carts get released in November time that we somehow get access to those dip switches, especially with the alpha coming on board. It would be great to get access to make the games a little bit easier, or at least more playable, amongst loads of other features. So fingers crossed that eventually happens. I know Blaze have been working at it and they've been promised it for some time, so fingers crossed that happens. It will certainly help with a lot of the games on this collection and the Tour Plan collection that will get released at the same time. Very good game, but it's stupidly tough, it really is.
really cool. Let's fight. Catch.
So next up is Express Raider, also known as Western Express over in Japan. I have to say this one definitely disappointed me a little bit. It is quite basic, obviously it is from way back in 1986, but I got a little bit bored. There's very little moves. I think you've got punch, jump, and a few sort of combinations of punch, jump, kick kind of thing. But I just got a little bit bored. You can see at the top of the screen there's a kind of a sort of strength power bar where you need to try and get that to the furthest right as possible to take out the enemy that you're currently facing. If it's going the opposite direction, obviously if the health is going to the left and obviously depleting, that's you going to die, which obviously is not a good thing. So it can be a little bit repetitive. It's definitely a little bit of a button basher, and I really didn't enjoy it at all. It felt very, very average to play, and I didn't get a lot of enjoyment out of it, just more or less frustration and a little bit of repetitive boredom. So next up is Joe and Mac Returns. This is a single screen style game where you need to clear all the enemies out by obviously hitting them, then collecting them in your sack and chucking them across the screen, hopefully taking out more enemies as you go. Now we have tons of single screen style games on Evercade. Thunder Pop is probably the most recognisable one that I can think of, and obviously Rodland as well. They are very similar to those, but obviously this one is still equally as enjoyable. It is very good. Graphically it's fantastic, really colourful, and I would certainly recommend playing this one. This was probably one of my favourite games from this collection, really enjoyed it. Unfortunately the bosses are pretty tough, but you can just keep inserting coins and just keep continuing from where you left off. Excellent game, really enjoyed it. Okay, so this is Last Mission, and it reminded me a lot of Granada X that we have on the Renovation Collection. Kind of similar in style. You obviously get some power-ups along the way, but the idea of this is basically just to try and stay alive as long as you possibly can, kill as many enemies, and you can see that at the bottom screen there, the enemy stars are building up. Once that gets filled up, you then get a boss sort of battle at the end of that. Then I guess you'll probably move on to the next stage. I actually quite enjoyed it. It wasn't too difficult, and it was pretty enjoyable. It's not mind-blowingly amazing, but it was still pretty good fun to play without being overly tough. So next up, it's Midnight Resistance. Now, we already have the console version, Mega Drive Genesis version, on the original Data East collection way back in 2020. And arguably that might even be a better version than the original arcade. I'm pretty sure there's a few other versions out there that are probably more fun to play than the arcade version. Now, there's nothing massively wrong with it. It's more or less the same kind of idea, same game. It is very, very tough. You basically collect those keys to obviously then trade them in for better weapons at the end of each level. It is really decent, but very tough, just like all the other arcade games that you see on these collections that we get. They're all stupidly tough, so hopefully we get those dip switches that will make things a lot easier. Now, in this demo that I was playing, or in the game that I was playing, I chose the wrong emulator, meaning I couldn't actually change the direction of the weapon by pressing the shoulder buttons, which hopefully I think that's what will happen on the Evercade version. You'll press the shoulder buttons to cycle through the different angles that you can aim your gun at. Obviously in this version I could only shoot forward, so that was a bit of a fall down from my side, but still a really decent game, but tough as nails. And as I said, arguably you could say that the Mega Drive version might even be more playable and maybe even the definitive version for this, but obviously please disagree with me. If you think the arcade version is the definitive version, please let me know. Personally, I think there's a few other versions out there that are actually better than this, but that's just my opinion. It's more or less the same game and it's still stupidly tough.
Pick a weapon. Three-way. Power up.
They call me a god. They call me a god.
got a filled up engine. In my thoughts, obsession. I will not stop, no, I'm never second guessing. I got a God complex. Haters love to hate, but I never feel pressed. Got a lot on my plate, but I never get stressed. I'll take all the pressure like I'm acing this test. Tear it up like I'm Jason. I see the world like it's ready for the taking. I see this place like a game I'm playing. Straight to the bank to collect my payments. No negotiations, it's my way, I was born impatient. And like a damn Freemason, I'll run this nation.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
I don't know how to stop.
Burger Time, and sadly it does suffer a lot of the same issues that Burger Time has, like the sticky ladders, but personally I think this is much harder than Burger Time was. You can't fall off the ladders, or you will, or fall off the side, you will just completely die. The idea of the game is to try and sort of push the snow cones, or the ice cream, sorry, onto the cones to be able to finish the level. But the trouble here is the enemies move so quickly it makes the game impossible to almost complete. It is very tough. As I said before in this video, hopefully they get those dip switches that can maybe dumb the difficulty down on these games to make them a little bit more playable, and thus obviously a little bit more enjoyable, because as it stands I really did not enjoy this experience at all. It is far too tough and far too frustrating. Okay, so this is Shootout, and this one definitely is starting to show its age a little bit. This is just really the practice stage that we're playing here at the moment, just to get used to the controls, which is something I obviously have to bring up. I felt the controls are a little bit stiff, as if they're not really designed for a D-pad. Now hopefully Blaze will maybe fine-tune this a little bit to make the game a little bit more playable, because it's the control-wise, just it's a little bit of a struggle to sort of find your aim and find the right direction and where you're supposed to shoot, and that makes the game even harder than it probably should be. Now the main game itself is just the same, more frustration, probably down to the controls more than anything else. It really was quite tough to sort of aim left and right and maybe try and dodge the firepower that's coming at you, and it comes that quick, you can barely see it, you die instantly. So it's a very tough, frustrating experience, and as I said, I think this one really is starting to show its age. I didn't really enjoy it that much at all. So this is Super Burger Time, the arcade sequel to the original Burger Time game, and it stars Peter Pepper Jr. and it's pretty much more of the same. The graphically, it's obviously a lot nicer than the original Burger Time. It still is very tough. I don't think it suffers from the sticky ladder syndrome, but there's a lot more enemies on screen, so it does make it quite tricky to actually play. And sometimes I think there's a little bit of colour clashing here and there that you really can't see the enemies that well. So I think it's trying a little bit too hard with all the colours going on. But it still is a really fun game to play, and I certainly enjoyed it, but it is a very tough experience, much like most of the arcade games on here. But certainly pretty good fun, and it could be arguably the best version of Burger Time, arguably. So this is SRD, or otherwise known as Super Real Darwin. Personally, I would rather it was SRB for Super Real Bad. But anyway, that is what it is. It's a very, very tough one hit you die back to the start of the level style game, which really frustrates the heck out of me. And it does control like treacle, which is obviously another thing that I don't really enjoy. So this is, I think, the second or third shoot 'em up we have on this collection. I don't think any of them are particularly amazing, but this one is maybe arguably the worst of the lot. I think you're going to have a lot of patience to play through this game. I'm pretty sure there's another Darwin style game in another collection, which is more or less the same kind of idea, super tough, where you'll do well to last more than half a level. You'll probably have to save state the heck out of this to make some progress.
Okay, here they come!
So this is Edward Randy, or the full title would be The Cliffhanger Edward Randy. A very cool action style game, like a cross between James Bond meets Indiana Jones. And we have a game called Sly Spy that's on Data East Arcade 1. It's a little bit similar, I guess, but obviously you have a whip in this particular game rather than a gun. And there's no doubt this is a very cool game, lots of lovely looking graphics, lots of action. It just never lets up, to be honest. It does get a little bit repetitive. I guess it would be nice to mix it up with some different weapons. Hopefully that will happen throughout the game. But I certainly enjoyed it. It's probably one of the better games on the collection. It is a lot of fun to play. So last up, it's Trio the Punch, Never Forget Me. Probably one of the weirdest games that Data East probably ever done. It is absolutely bizarre. I've no idea what's going on here. The game is a little bit basic and I really didn't enjoy it that much. You've got the choice of 3 different characters at the start of the game, and the idea is to just basically clear the enemies of each level, and each level has this kind of a boss sort of style thing where you try and have to figure out what you need to do to defeat it. It took me ages to figure out how to defeat this boss, and basically all you need to do is hit it on the back of the head, I think about 4 times to obviously make progress to the next stage. But there's no doubt about it, absolutely weird. Not sure what the 4 little characters are at the bottom there holding up this statue that's firing fireballs out. Absolutely bizarre, and it gets even weirder throughout the game. It is a real peculiar one, and I have to say I didn't enjoy it much. Okay guys, my final thoughts on Data East Arcade 2. I have to say I'm a little bit disappointed. There's a lot of really poor to average games, and on that I probably couldn't recommend this cart to buy. I'm sure some people might enjoy some of the games more than I did, but personally I didn't enjoy that many. Admittedly, I did enjoy the Edward Randy game. I quite enjoyed Crude Busters and Midnight Resistance, but those 2 games there we already have in the console collections, and we are missing a few games such as BWings, so maybe we'll see another collection from Data East at some point, but I have to say I am disappointed in this one. Thanks for watching, catch you again in the next one, bye for now.